Take me to a place where nobody is crying. Oh yeah. Take me to a place where nobody is lying. Oh yeah. Set the people free, let them roll like a lion. Oh yeah. Tryna get free, tryna get free. Tryna get free, tryna get free. Get these chains off, hey. Tryna get free, tryna get free. Tryna get free, tryna get free. Get these chains off, hey. Tryna get free, tryna get free. Tryna get free, tryna get free. Get these chains off, hey. Tryna get free, tryna get free. Tryna get free, tryna get free. Get these chains off, hey.
Extra?
Extra. It's a lot.
Are you videoing?
Yes, I am.
This isn't the Christmas one. Yeah.
Vlogmas
is over, people.
Hi everybody, welcome to the Brooklyn Knitfolk podcast. This is episode number 58. My name is Jaclyn. You can find me on Instagram, and Ravelry is at Jaclyn Salem. I'm most active on Instagram though. I love posting things about New York City life, my sewing projects, my craft projects, so if you want to follow me over there, that's probably the place to be. Thank you so much for joining me today. As I mentioned, a podcast about knitting and sewing. I live in Brooklyn, New York City with my two kitties, one of which is hanging out in my lap. So yeah, I'm so happy that you're here today. Before we get started, I did kind of want to talk about what's been happening in the knitting community recently. I'm really excited that this conversation has been happening around racism and white privilege in the knitting community. To be honest, it's one that's been needing to have happened for a really long time. And I just wanted to, again, I've mentioned this on an Instagram post, but just make it perfectly clear, and even more so that I said on my post that I am an ally and that everybody is welcome here. But for me, it's more than just making sure that everybody, Black, Indigenous, people of color, feel welcome. I want to make sure that you know you're wanted here. It may not sound like a big distinction, but to me, I think there's a difference between feeling comfortable approaching something or approaching a community or approaching anything, and then a difference between that and feeling like you are wanted there. And I just want everybody to know that you, regardless of your race, your gender, your sexual orientation, you are wanted here. You make my life better. And maybe that sounds selfish to say, but if you want to be here, I want you here. I want your opinions. I want your thoughts. I want your knitting project ideas. I want your yarn choices. I want your sewing and fabric ideas. Anything that you feel comfortable sharing, I would love to hear from you. I want to meet you in real life. I don't do this for followers. That's dumb. I do this because I wanted to find my people and find a community. And that empathy extends to everybody, not just anybody of a particular, race or, like I said, sexual orientation, gender, anything. Everybody is welcome here. So I just want to make sure that was crystal clear. Not only are you invited to approach, like you are welcome, but you are wanted. So that's kind of it. Oh, and I guess it kind of reminded me, I've been reading this book called Loneliness. I know, so cheerful, right? But it's a psychology and a science book. And the very opening quote that is in the book is, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. And I just thought that quote was really powerful. It said the attribution was an African proverb. And I just really like that. So if you want to go far, go together. In some of the opening pages of the book, it kind of discusses the difference between loneliness and being alone. They are not the same thing. You can feel very lonely in a huge group of people. And that fact, and hearing all of the stories and reading about all of the stories of makers of color in our community who have felt excluded, that is just so heartbreaking, and I need to make sure I'm doing my part to not be contributing to a culture that excludes people. So I just want everybody to know where I stand on that. You are welcome here, you are wanted here, and yeah, I love you all. You make my life so much better. Racism and white privilege are very, very real and deadly things that happen every single day. And so I just wanted to make sure that I'm doing my part as a person, with a podcast and a public platform, to acknowledge the existence of these problems, number one, and to say that I am listening. I'm listening so hard to everything that is being said and trying to learn as much as I can to dismantle the own unconscious bias that I know that I have as a person of privilege living in the United States. So thank you so much to everybody who has been a part of the education experience, and I will continue to do my part to make sure that I am doing better. This conversation in work is ongoing. It's for life. So it doesn't just start and end with somebody who posts a racist video or somebody who, posts a tone-deaf article. This is day in and day out life for Black, Indigenous people of color. So it's our job to make sure we're doing our part to lift them up. So thank you for being here. And yeah, I may not always say it in the right way, but know that I am here and I am listening and I am learning. And for now, we're going to move on to the knitting projects, and I have an exciting one to share with you. My finished white horse sweater. Isn't it so gorgeous? I knit this out of Brooklyn Tweed Loft, which is a fingering weight yarn. It's a pretty heavy fingering weight yarn, in the Long Johns colorway. Look at this beautiful lace. It is done. Ends woven in, it's been blocked. This color is just insane. It's so beautiful. I did discuss some of the modifications that I made to it in the previous episode, but just to kind of go over it here, the pattern the pattern as it's written is centered with these two. There's like a skinnier piece right here and a wider piece right here. They're situated together being centered, and I really just did not like how that looked. So I moved the beginning of the round so that this skinny one here would be in the center. So that was an easy modification to make. It did mean that I'd have to skip some short row shaping on the back, but I think in total it was like 5 rows or something, and honestly I don't feel it when it's on. Like, I don't miss the short row shaping in it, so that's a thing. This is fingering weight yarn, so I cast on the size large to achieve something similar to the size small, and it's a pretty fitted sweater. I changed the sleeves. I'll try it on for you in just a second as well, but just kind of want to discuss. Well, maybe I'll just put it on. Okay, sweater is on now. So the sleeves, I also was not a huge fan of the bell sleeve. It's just not a look that works for me. I think that it looks great on other people, but I've never purchased a sweater like that. I've never worn a sweater like that. It just doesn't fit my personal style. So when I knit the sleeves, rather than knitting them as called for, you basically just kind of knit in the round, and at the very end do some very rapid decreasing right here to make it kind of like a bell sleeve. So what I did was that every few rounds or so, I just decreased it so that it was fitting on my arm, and tried it on every so often. The sleeves are quite different. In fact, this one fits a lot better. I'm probably going to rip this one back to about the elbow and then decrease it more right here so that it's more form-fitted. This one is perfect. I love how this one looks. I did a 3/4 length sleeve. I made that choice because Julie gave me her Grace cardigan, and it's a 3/4 length sleeve, and I just love that look. I just think it looks feminine, but it's also comfortable and warm. This is a very warm sweater, even though it is a lace yoke. And yeah, I really love it. I love the results. I'd highly recommend knitting this. It was such a quick knit. I really enjoyed it. I also made mine quite cropped. I'm not going to stand up because Mika's sitting in my lap and she's sleeping and being cute, so I don't want to disturb her, but it is quite a cropped cardigan. If I could go back and redo it, I might add like maybe 1/2 inch to 1 inch to it. It's like, it comes to the top of my pants, so it's fine, but I don't know, I feel like even 1/2 inch it would have been just better, but it's okay. I can probably reblock it and just more aggressively stretch it down. I kind of, when I block anything really, I kind of tend to just like smooth it out and let it do its thing. Wow. Try to let it do its thing. And rather than kind of like aggressively blocking it in any sort of direction. The lace, I did kind of want to make sure it was like really nice and flat so that it would open up, but I love the result of it. I think it looks really pretty, and I love it. I've already worn it several times, and I'm just excited to have this in my wardrobe. It's my first sweater that's knit out of Brooklyn tweed yarn too, and I feel like Brooklyn tweed has always kind of been one of those desert island yarns for me. I just love it. I could knit everything in it. It's a woolen spun yarn. Am I getting that right? I just love Brooklyn tweed yarn, you know, so I've been wanting to knit a sweater out of it for quite a long time. I definitely have more sweaters in my future planned in this, the Andawa sweater by Michelle Wong specifically. So yeah, I really, really love it. Love how it turned out. I think the fit is great, and I really like the mods that I made. I think it will make it much more wearable for me. And again, all of this information is on my project page on Ravelry, so if you have any questions about anything, I would head over there to see if that can be answered for you. So the next project that I want to show you is I've gone full steam ahead on my Nordiska sweater. Nordiska is a pattern by Jaclyn Hunter. This is a pattern by Jaclyn Hunter as well, in case you didn't know that. Nordiska is a sweater pattern by Jaclyn Hunter, and it is knit in the round. It's V-neck, and it's got this really gorgeous cable raglan detail that I just think is really cool, except I made a mistake on one of them already. Where is it? Yep. So now I've got this S thing happening here until I like figured it out, and whatever. I'm not fixing it, it's fine. I think these things kind of are what make hand knit pieces unique. The perfection is not exciting to me. So I am knitting mine out of Sweet Sparrow yarns entirely. This is Julie's Mika. Nope. This is Julie's Morel colorway. And it's this like warm gray brown color. Really beautiful. And it's on her tweed base, which is called House Wren. And her tweed base is one of my favorite bases of all time. I love Julie's tweed base. It's just so nice to work with. Here's the cake. The tweed bits are different colors of natural, so it's got black tweed, brown tweed, natural tweed. Really pretty. So this is my main color, Morel. And then the color work that is in it, because there is color work on the bottom, I'm using this colorway on her singles base called Al Swearingen. I just love how this particular colorway looks on her singles base. You know I'm a Sweet Sparrow fangirl when I know how different colors look on different bases. But I just love how on the singles it comes off as being a little more red-purple, whereas on other bases it can tend to look more brown. So I just wanted to make sure that it was like definitely coming off as a red color for the color work in this particular project. And then my color pops, it only calls for one other one, but I'm going to try to use both of them because I love them both. This is the Lichen colorway on her tweed base, and this is the Butterbeer colorway also on her tweed base. So I love how all of these look together. This is like my color palette in a nutshell. Yeah. Love this. So excited about this. So it's been full steam ahead on this. It's a really quick project because the gauge is super airy on it. I did get gauge-ish on the pattern with the recommended needle size. I was half a stitch short. So I'm going to go ahead and knit it on the 4s as the pattern recommends. But if I notice that it's looking too small, then I might switch to the 5s later on. But we'll see. But yeah. Really, really loving how it's going. And like I said, the gauge is super airy on it, so it's making it knit up really quickly. I think the main color only calls for 2 skeins of the main color for the size I'm knitting, so it's pretty great. Here's my second one if you want to see what Morel looks like in the skein. Lovely, and that's living in a project bag for now because there's a sweater, so it'll outgrow this eventually, but this is my Wild Handmade project bag. It's one of my favorites. All right, the next project is a new cast on. So last week was Vogue Knitting Live, and my lovely best friends, Julie and Stacy, stayed over. And while they were here, Julie showed me this pattern. She's like, oh, Jaclyn, you're gonna love this. And I love that people would know that this pattern would be great for me because it's a sock pattern called These Socks Are Bananas, and it's by Emma, who is colorfully_handmade on Instagram. The sock is adorable, and I saw that and I was like, that's way too cute to be on my feet. Like, not that you can't knit cute stuff for your feet, but I want these to be more of a conversation piece, more out in the world. So I decided to turn this pattern into mittens. Well, mitts more specifically. I like having the fingers open because I use my phone a lot when I'm out and about looking up directions somewhere and stuff, so it's just more useful to me. But here is where I am so far. These little colorwork bananas. I honestly hate colorwork knitting. It's just not something I enjoy doing. My eyes are just like, I have terrible eyesight, number one. My prescription's like -8, -9, like somewhere over in that range. It's like really, really bad. And then on top of that, I got a scratch on one of my eyes like years ago. I had to wear a patch on it for like a few weeks. It was bad. So now I have to kind of like assess wearing contacts on a day-to-day basis just on how it feels, if it's like tweaky or not. So all this to say, my eyesight is just like terrible in general, and so I can't, colorwork knitting and reading a chart is just like, ugh. Knit Companion, the app that Julie and I talked about that I discovered via Julie, on my Vlogmas episodes. Makes it so much easier though, because it has a row highlighter that you can just move up and down or side to side. It's brilliant, I love it. So it makes it easier to do it and more bearable. But you know what makes it really bearable? Knitting bananas. So I'm using Jameson's Shetland Spindrift. And I'm using 4 different colors. I'm kind of calling these my pop art mittens because they remind me of Andy Warhol. So I cast on the ribbing in this super, super bright pink colorway. And what was that one called? Let me see. So the pink one is called Fuchsia, colorway number 530. The yellow of the bananas is called Cornfield. Yes, Cornfield. The brown that I'm using for the tips of the banana is called Birch, and then the white is just called White. So here are the little skeins. I just bought one 25-gram ball of each. I might need to get a second one of the white. I don't really know yet, but it's just white and undyed, so I wasn't too nervous about dye lots, honestly. So there's this bright fuchsia. It's amazing, just as bright as it looks, and I'll definitely be using this on the end ribbing up here and then on the thumb ribbing as well. Here's the Cornfield colorway, the yellow. Birch, this brown, which has it's really dimensional brown. It has a lot of other colors in it. And then this very, very bright white. So when I was picking out these colors, I was using the black and white filter on my phone to make sure I was getting enough contrast. I really wanted to use something not quite so stark for the white, but when I was using the black and white filter on my phone, the contrast just wasn't high enough, so I wanted to make sure that you could see the bananas. And you can sort of see where I'm catching the floats for the brown rows especially, so I'm hoping that with blocking that will be better, but it's fine. It's cute. It is so fun knitting colorwork bananas on a crowded subway, let me tell you. The amount of people who were staring at it while I was knitting it and just like kind of chuckling or smiling over it, it was just really heartwarming. So, yes, and if you're curious, the pattern, like I said, is called These Socks Are Bananas, so it's meant to be socks. But what I've done is I've taken Erica Hauser's underwing mitts pattern that I've knit previously, and I'm using that as the recipe for the mitten because that mitten fits me really, really well. Okay, and then just a quick update on my Racine Bells socks. I love, by the way, that this is pretty much, me talking about this has started such a movement. Julie told me that so many people have bought the colorway since my talking about it, which I think is great because I'm not kidding, this colorway just makes me so happy every time I look at it. So I'm kind of wondering if maybe we should all buy this colorway and then do like a little knit along together of something, just informally. But it's just one of those colors I feel like everybody needs. It's just so outdoorsy and happy. And I'm not even a yellow person really, but there's just something about this that just makes me feel so happy. It's such a fun color to knit. So fun. And again, that's called Racine Bells. Still making progress on that. Finally finished with the heel. You always just kind of need a sock in rotation, but I've been taking my sweaters with me on the subway lately, and I've been knitting on those at work because I get an hour of knitting time every day while I'm at work. It's so fun. So many people at work actually have been talking to me about the knitting and want me to teach them how, which I just think is so cool, obviously. And that's really it for my current knitting projects. Sewing, I also don't have any updates for you. I wasn't able to get the buttons for my skirt yet, so I still haven't finished it, and I really, really want to. So that's on my priorities list. I do have some really beautiful fabric, that gorgeous red-orange silk fabric that I'm dying to turn into a high square neck tank top. I just think it would be so beautiful, and I like the idea of mixing that really bold color in a kind of, not conservative, I mean it would be a high neck tank top, but I just like that mix together. So it's been on my mind to make that. So no sewing updates to share with you. The last things really that I have to talk to you about are just a few acquisitions. I went to VKL knowing I was not gonna buy anything really because I just need to knit through my stash. And that's not me being virtuous, it's just that I just have too much here and it is all beautiful and I love it. But then I found out that Cat Sandwich Fibers was gonna be there, and of course I had to get that. I've been, as you know, a huge fan of Cat Sandwich Fibers from the very first moment I found out about her. Her dyeing is absolutely gorgeous. MJ dyes out of New Jersey. I've interacted with her a lot online and I was so excited to finally get to meet her in person, so that was really cool. So of course I just had to stop by and get some Cat Sandwich Fibers. Her yarn sells out rather quickly online, so it's like you kind of have to go in there. It's not a bloodbath situation, but you kind of have to go in there knowing what you want to make sure that you get it. There's not a lot of time to really shop it. So that was really great that I could actually like shop all of the colorways and like take my time in my decision making. So I came away with 2 skeins. Both are pink. I loved her pink booth. It was amazing. The first one that I picked up was this one called something blush. What was it? No. Roses and Peonies. And it's this really, really beautiful pink. I love this so much. Her speckle style is just so fun. This is one of those things that's so fun to knit with, but it's not super, super rainbowy when you're looking at it as a whole, as a knitted item. So I think what I want to do with this is knit, and sorry for my nails, I'm taking a pottery class tomorrow, so I just like didn't want to bother getting them done. So what I want to do with this is knit another broken rib hat. I have that one that I knit out of the Chelsea Yarns yarn a long time ago, and I wear that one all the time, so I'd love to knit another one. So the broken rib hat that I didn't design it, but I just kind of made it up. All the details are on my project page. So I think I want to knit another one of those hats out of this, and I hold it double so that's kind of like a DK weight. It knits up quicker. Yeah, isn't this beautiful? And this is on her trusty base, 463 yards, and it's a 75-25 merino nylon. And then the other one that I got is also quite pink, but this just felt very Cat Sandwich Fibers, so I had to get it. It's called the Card Captor Sakura, and it's pink and blue with a lot of multicolor speckles in it. Just gorgeous. Love this. So this is my VKL purchase. That's all I got. And then a really kind person, and I'm feeling so bad because I cannot remember her name. It's like on the tip of my tongue. She came up to me and she had all these minis and asked if I wanted some and told me that she watches the podcast, and I was just so grateful. I love talking to people in person, but her name is just escaping me for some reason. I'm so sorry. You can remind me down below if this was you. But she gave me 2 mini skeins. This one right here, this like really bright orange pink that has speckles in it, and it's by a dyer called Dye Candy, and the colorway is called Stowaway. This is really fun. This will be perfect as the color pop that I use in my granny stripe blanket. And then this one is by Mothy and the Squid. This really, really pretty dark green, which, as you know, is one of my favorite colors. And the colorway is called Winter Hawk Moth. So, yep, VKL. And then a pattern stash acquisition. This is a out of print Calvin Klein pattern. I kept seeing this on Grace Weezer Dreams stories because she's making View C. She's making this top right now, but I kept seeing her showing this pattern. She has an amazing vintage patterns collection, and every single time she would show the entire pattern cover, I'm like, oh, I really like that. And then she would show it like a few, days or weeks later and be like, oh, I really like that. What is that? And then I realized on my notes that I keep in my phone of patterns I want to look up next time I'm at a Joann's, I had this pattern written down twice and went to go put it there again. So clearly I just needed to buy this pattern. So this is Calvin Klein for Vogue, Calvin Klein for Vogue, $17.86. And I honestly love everything in it. Like, I love that top. I think these pants are really chic. This dress, this shirt, like all of it. But really, the piece de resistance for me is this slip dress. I don't know what it is. I don't even know, honestly, if that's gonna look good on me or not, realistically, but I'm willing to give it a shot. I just think it is so timeless. I love this dress in a black. Like, that would be an excellent little black dress. I like the length of it. I like how it fits the model. So we'll see if it can look that good on me or not. But this has so many things that come in this pattern, like pants, a bias skirt. That would be really fun to make, I think. Some top patterns, the slip dress, like I said, a tank top. So yes, love this. I'm very excited about this purchase. So I bought this on either eBay or Amazon, I can't remember, but it was used, of course, but the pattern tissue has not been cut, so it's fresh. And I, of course, will be cutting it because I'm a rebel. And that's it for the podcast today, you guys. I hope you enjoyed this episode, and I'll see you in the next episode. Bye.